Welcome to Rewatch-and-Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Grey's Anatomy, Season 4, Episode 12, Piece of My Heart. Episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happens in the episode. So, main thing that this episode focused on was Addison coming back from LA and her private practice to do a surgery on an infant whose heart is beating outside of its body. And that is also our first patient, is the baby and its mother. Sloane has grown a skin flap from the baby's own cells to be used to go over the heart once it's taken out. So plan of action for them was remove the baby from the mother. Then it goes to Han, who puts the heart back in. If there is any issues with the bowels, because they think that there might be, then Addison would take over there. However, what ends up happening is that when the baby is removed, the mother has a crisis, so Addison stays with the mother. Alex takes the baby back to Han in her place. Turns out there was nothing wrong with the bowels, so that ended up working out. Mother is saved. Baby's heart surgery goes well. That patient is good. Then we have Meredith starting her clinical trial with the patient from the previous episode, Philip, where they found the brain tumor. And the trial is because the type of tumor is inoperable. What they're going to try to do, and has had success in animals, is put a virus inside of the cancer, which should then help it to shrink and alleviate the symptoms. However, because it is the first patient they are attempting it on, they do bring him into the operating room. However, he does end up dying on the table. And then we have Izzy having an HIV pregnancy, and the mother is basically set on having an abortion because she believes she will pass her disease on to her child and does not want to do that. And Izzy at first tries to encourage her to not do so, but she isn't clear. It ends with the mother getting very angry and basically kicking Izzy out. However, after talking with Addison, Izzy gets a bit of a confidence boost and she returns to the patient to basically say, you were very clear about what you want, but I wasn't clear. And then Izzy tells her that there's a 98% chance that her baby will be healthy, that if she wants to be a mother, she has an opportunity to do so. And, basically gives this whole speech about how, I know that you gave up on the idea of being a mother a long time ago, but if it is something that you could foresee for yourself, you have this opportunity. And her and her husband are swayed ultimately by her speech because they did want to keep the baby. She was only getting rid of it purely for the medical reason, not because she didn't want the baby. And then we have Rebecca coming back yet again. And honestly, I'm a bit over it, but she's back again. This time she's claiming the last time she was there, Alex got her pregnant. But in the clinic, the intern isn't able to find a heartbeat on the ultrasound. However, because they did have a party at George's the night before, Izzy just takes it as their own incompetence, says they'll do a blood test. By the end of the episode, Izzy gets the blood test back. Turns out Rebecca was lying, but not before she's already tricked Alex with the lie that she's pregnant. That brings us to Izzy having to deal with the fact that George has made better friends with the interns. Now that he and Lexi are sharing an apartment, the interns came over for a housewarming party, and then they started getting in jokes, and Izzy felt left out from being not invited to the party. She wanted to be a part of the in jokes, but it's not until George points out the fact that she's the boss, not one of the interns, that she kind of changes that thinking around. So by the end of the episode, she lets George go out and play with his new friends while she is left to get the results that ultimately lead her to find out that Rebecca's lying. And then Callie has an Addison-induced crisis. Addison is in LA, um, and she immediately sees Callie with Han and assumes that they are a couple. Callie is thrown off by this because she was just thinking they were good friends, and she then asks Meredith and Christina if anyone's ever mistaken them for a couple, and they say that nope, no one ever has. And basically, to prove to herself that they are not a couple, she decides at the end of the episode to dance with Sloane before inviting him to leave with her. Once they've left, Addison makes a comment to Han about how they are, how Callie is beautiful, and Han says that she is. So obviously, that's hinting there may be feelings there, but it's not confirmed. Um, And then Christina is still frustrated at the point that Han won't teach her. Addison asks Han why she won't teach her, and Han says that she reminds her of herself. So I guess she's being harsh on her because she felt that was what she wanted someone to be towards her when she was training. I don't know. Again, she doesn't outright say it; it's more implied. And I think again that is all of the main points for this episode. So now that we've been reminded about what happened in the episode, it is time to rank the episode first on the mostly objective ranking list, followed by the personal ranking list. So we first start with the single episode supporting character introductions, and that's the two mothers, Sarah and Nikki, one of whom has the baby with the heart outside its body, and the other is the HIV pregnancy. Then we have the supporting relationship development, Rebecca telling Alex she's pregnant, and him, after seeing the baby in the surgery, feeling like he would be okay with that. And then we see them together, seemingly at Meredith's house, because Alex lives there now, and him touching her stomach. Of course, -2 points is supporting relationship regression or breakup. We find out Rebecca has lied about the pregnancy. She's not actually pregnant and is actually really maliciously tricking Alex into thinking that he might be a dad and he might be okay with it, but he's not going to be because she isn't pregnant, which is very cruel. Um, so that kind of cancels itself out. And then we have Callie leaving the bar with Sloane. Now, anyone who's seen the series, because this is a rewatch, I assume everyone has, we know that it's implied that they're going to sleep together, but we know that they do because we do know that they do have a child together in the future. So that is why I was willing to give the points here, even though it was implied and not explicitly stated they were going to sleep together, because the outcome is already known because this is a rewatch. So I did add 2 points for that. Then we have the multi-season main character development, which is of course that Meredith's trial that she brought up in the last episode has been approved by this episode, and they are able to, with Derek, like she's working with Derek on the clinical trial, and this is the official first day that the approved trial is starting, and their first patient that they're starting with is Philip from the last episode. So that is worth 4 points for the achievement. And then we have the character regression. And for me, that's Philip as a character. He gets worse. He loses his sight. He becomes abusive to basically everyone around him. He does have one last redeeming moment with Jennifer before he goes in for the surgery. But throughout the episode, he's very, very, very aggressive, abusive, yelling, just not great behavior. And then he ultimately ends up dying, which is the ultimate regression because he regressed right to the end. So ultimately, this leaves this episode as a 7 out of 10. And now for the season 4 rankings so far. Mostly objective list. We have in first, a change is gonna come, physical attraction, chemical reaction, where the wild things are, Kung Fu Fighting, this episode came in 5th place, Piece of My Heart, followed by Love/Addiction, Haunt You Every Day, Forever Young, Let the Truth Sting, Lay Your Hands on Me, Crash Into Me, and The Heart of the Matter. Personal ranking for this episode, I did give it a higher score because I did enjoy this episode quite a bit. I liked that Addison made a return to the series. As she tells the chief at the end, she's not back. She had to come back to confirm for herself that she was right to leave and therefore is going to leave again. Obviously, she has a spin-off show. There is a moment in the episode where Derek gets in the elevator, followed by Addison, then Meredith, and then Rose comes in, and then it goes down a floor. The elevator doors open, and Sloane just gives the reaction I think everyone in the audience in that moment was feeling, and he just laughs at Derek, and then once he gets in the elevator, leans over to Derek and says, "I bet you wish that you were taking the stairs right now." And I just thought that was a great moment for the series. Obviously, having Addison back was great. There was a lot of baby-related cases because obviously if Addison's back, that's the case. And it also hints towards the future because the chief hasn't found somebody in her field to replace her yet, probably under the hopes that she'd change her mind and come back. And she tells him that he's going to have to fill her position, which will of course open the door for another multi-season main character to enter. So that'll be great. Meredith and Derek are working together, but Addison finds out that they broke up, which of course upsets her because after everything she went through, you know, her husband wanting to be with Meredith, trying with her, giving her up for Meredith, and now they're broken up, and even she knows that Rose is the rebound. She calls her a doe-eyed thing, and as she's leaving the bar, like Joe's bar at the end of the episode, she goes to Meredith and she's like, "I really wish I could beat you up right now for letting Derek go," and then like stresses that it's Derek she is giving up on, before she ultimately ends up leaving for her flight. And then, there's more character development, Callie's crisis. Izzy kind of has, the issues with George making new friends, but then also with talking to Addison and even talking to George about how she is technically the boss, she gets some of her confidence back, which has been lessened in some of the previous episodes. So overall, like, there wasn't really anything I disliked about the episode. I thought the episode was good. I thought there was a lot of character development and growth with Addison being the catalyst, learning about everything. Even Bailey tells her about her situation while telling her she's not. She's like, "I'm not going to talk to you about this, 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 this," essentially telling her while trying to pretend she didn't tell her, which I thought was a very Bailey way to go about confiding in Addison. But it, again, was a nice refresher to have Edison come back for one episode. And because once Edison left, there was nobody to handle like the infant patients. We haven't really seen any cases of like this in a while. So it was nice to kind of focus on that again because those are usually the sweetest episodes because they're adorable babies. That's why I gave it a 9 out of 10. And that brings us to In First Place, Where the Wild Things Are, followed by Physical Attraction, Chemical Reaction. This episode I put in 3rd place, Piece of My Heart, followed by A Change Is Gonna Come, Haunt You Every Day, Love/Addiction, Forever Young, Lay Your Hands on Me, Let the Truth Sting, Kung Fu Fighting, Crash Into Me, and then in last place we have The Heart of the Matter. That brings us to our series ranking so far, mostly objective ranking. Season 1 is in first, followed by Season 2, then Season 3. Season 4 has a score of 74 out of 150. Personal ranking, Season 3 was in first place, followed by Season 2, Season 1 and last so far. Season 4 so far at 85 out of a possible 150. But with that, we have Rewatched and Ranked Grey's Anatomy Season 4, Episode 12. Piece of My Heart, like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.